Hey, good afternoon, Tampa Bay. How you doing, guys, man? I don't even know what time of day it is. It looks like it's still sunny outside, and I think it's 9 at night. It's pretty sad here in the
We're just
Florida.
happy people playing it.
Yeah, like, it's good to be here. Look, what a crew we have. Amazing. Looking around the room, I see some familiar people, and hey, Mr. Sakakaka, I love it. You got to tell me what that means later on. But anyway, DJ Moyo
keep it
Gregoria.
PG.
What? How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Here for episode 2. I appreciate you putting this out there for
I've
us.
been seeing you in the news and leading like people in marches and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got a lot of video. Listen, we got to hook you up with some of that on the.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, listen, on the YouTube. I want to
Yeah.
see all of that and have our friends that watch actually watch you in action. Tell me about what you did. What's going on, man? And
In the last man, it's really just been a week, really.
Yes.
In the last week, the first came around, and many people just said it was going to be what's called a paro laboral, which means that we're just going to stop working one day, a day without immigrants. And we mobilized to register people to vote. And the message behind what we were doing with the radio station, with an organization named Mi Familia Vota, was basically just register, put action to our words. I just didn't want people out there screaming and saying,
registrando la gente.
yeah, we need,
El pueblo.
we need numbers. We want people, we want the young people, especially now that we know that you can register from the age of 16. This is a pre-registration. When you turn 18, you get your voter's registration card. We jumped in right away with that, and we got a solid couple hundred of kids that 16 and up. Signed up for this. So you're thinking, here comes a presidential election. I had one young lady who was 17 years old. Her mom brought her. She had just turned 17. Her mom brought her. Her mom's undocumented. But this little girl's going to be voting for her mom. You know what I'm saying? That's beautiful.
Awesome. Hey, I want to just say thank you to coming to the show, Café con CJ, sin pelos en la lengua tonight. And honestly, it's great if you're watching this. We appreciate it, or you're listening on one of the podcasts. And please subscribe on
Yes.
YouTube or however way. Please look for us every couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have some interesting topics and some interesting discussions.
But the
Gracias
beauty of
por
it
estar con nosotros.
it's definitely interesting conversation. So yeah, we need everyone to share, subscribe, like, and comment, please, if you
Yeah,
like it and don't like it. I
Yeah.
love comments that people don't like.
Yeah, we can talk about anything. I mean, your sex life, anything, Moya. If we get
I mean,
viewers,
if
I'm
it
all into
arouses
it.
any interest,
That's
I will
right.
share it.
I doubt it, but at your age. But used to, I hear. But nowadays, I don't know. It's getting old, dude. It's not like the same.
not.
Matter of fact, he has a problem hearing. That's why he has those big things on his ears, and none of us young guys do. It's
Actually, I
amazing.
have really big ears, so this is the way of
Is
covering them.
is that what it is? I didn't know that. At least it's just ears. But
Yeah.
anyway, thank you. Thank you for being in the program. So you did this marching and crazy stuff and got people. How many people you think you touched? I know Ellie was involved from the Reagan,
Yes.
some of the other folks.
I was really happy with Ellie. Ellie mobilized Plant City.
Tell me who Ellie is, by the way.
Ellie Aguilar is, I would say she's our goddaughter, because she calls me Padrino, but you're just as much as a godfather to her. And she's just, I told her that, I said, baby, you are volver a nacer a su mamá. Like, she's really like a community social worker.
Her mom rocks it. You
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
I knew Ellie when she was this big. She is probably this big now. I think 20 years later, but she's truly an amazing, spiritual, wonderful woman who cares about the community.
Yeah, no, she mobilized a really beautiful march from El Mirasol, which is a popular store there in Plant City, down to City Hall.
Awesome.
And Julio, what do you think? Made 300, 400, 500? They had it. No. We had almost 300 people where we were. So this thing probably about 700, 800 people.
Yeah, I heard it was like close to 1,000 or
Yeah,
so.
it was a lot of people. And we got up there, and when Julio and us when we first arrived, they had a band. They had a banda, and some people were in the center dancing. And I was like, damn, it's a party. I said, but there was nobody saying anything. There was no direction. So it was really organic. I think Julio found a guy mobilizing a microphone, and he said, hey, I got Moyo here. And we got in front of him, and we told him, I said, hey, listen, we came here. Let's make it count. Let's get all our people 16 and up, because we're going to march back to El Mirasol. Let's get them registered. And man, I mean, everyone there, from the police, everyone was just so happy that we did get that message, that we were able to do that. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm really happy what Ellie did for the Plant City people in Waimama. Oh my God, in Waimama. they closed down 674, the whole
Really?
street. Yeah,
Excellent.
they walk from their little store at the very end all the way to the beginning of the
Excellent.
beginning. So I mean, but they got to RCMA where again registered a whole bunch of people.
Excellent.
really-
We're going to talk a lot about today the little bit at the end of the SB 1718 discussion about the anti-immigration law. Matter of fact, if you were listening to Trump and DeSantis debate, and DeSantis is trying to out-Trump with the immigration. He's saying he's weak on immigration, and because he's passed this law here in Florida. So he's trying to pivot to the far extreme of Trump on immigration. Think about it. It's pretty sad. We're going to talk about immigration as well, and why we need immigration reform, and how we can better things, and why it's not happening, and how to fix it. I was kidding about Cesar here being Mr. Sakakaka. Look, we had a good-looking mama last time. Now we have this guy who's he's a little bit full of stuff. And, so why don't you introduce yourself and say hi to everybody and tell us.
Hey, so it's Cesar Garcia. I'm a Manatee County native, born and raised. And it's just fun to be here. It's a good time.
You're conflicted because Mexico's playing Guatemala.
They played
today,
tomorrow
right?
night. Look, I got it on my calendar, and it's funny. My parents went to Guatemala recently, and
Are you from Guatemala?
my dad's from Guatemala,
And your mom's from Mexico?
and my mom's Mexicana.
Wow.
Yeah, so
He's conflicted.
that's why he says I'm conflicted.
Yeah, well,
but
because I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican, and
Yeah, that- you're conflicted
I
also.
fight with myself all the time.
And Clayton's pure white, so he's not conflicted. He's got
he
other
doesn't have that
issues.
issue.
No,
Not that issue. No,
other
but
issues.
it's a lot of fun. We've been really busy over the last, I would say, maybe 2 months. Involved
Do you speak
politically.
Spanish,
I
Cesar?
do. Yeah, no. Mi español no es tan bueno como el de Moyo, pero sí, más o menos ahí vamos. I got a very Chicano thing, you know.
Thing.
My parents, it's funny. We have this argument with CJ all the time, but since we're talking about speaking Spanish, right? Yo no sabía que mi nombre era César until I started school. Mis papás siempre me hablaban en español and I didn't understand English. So when I started pre-K, the teacher started calling Caesar. I don't know who the hell is that, because they call me CJ. That's my name.
Sakakaka.
So
What is he?
I was talking to Nancy, my wife, this morning. I said, we were talking about it with my mom because they got some crazy. You know what's the problem sometimes in the Latino community, especially like with our mothers and the people who come. Vienen una cultura donde creen en la brujería o creen en los hechiceros or whatever.
Uh-huh.
They believe the bullshit. It's true. I'm sorry. So this morning, estaba argumentando con mi mamá for like 30 minutes. I swear to God, I'm over here writing emails, and my mom's like, "Oh yeah, I saw this thing on TikTok. I think I don't know what my mom's doing on TikTok. De que esto y que lo otro." I was like, "Ma, that's now I understand Jim Jones and the Kool-Aid. Now I understand, these mega churches and how people can really be brainwashed." I said, "Ma, you sound like all the people that voted for Trump, and then." He got the vaccine, but told everybody not to get the vaccine. I mean, that kind of stuff, So, to me, having a platform like this es importante hablar también de esos normas culturales.
Dice CJ sin pelos.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the truth, And I called my grandmother. I said, "Look, Mom." Yeah, I called her Mom. Le va a hablar mi mamá y no sé qué le va a decir. Por favor, don't listen to her. Because I knew that's the next call she was going to make.
With all due respect to your grandma, but there's got to be a reason you call her mom. But we'll leave it at that.
Yes, no, absolutely.
I won't go down that road.
No,
all right?
it's...
He's like, no, let me explain.
No, I will explain.
I don't want to know.
If
I don't want to know.
Look, if she ever hears me call her grandma, I'm a dead man walking.
I respect the
That's
woman.
funny.
Leave it alone.
Ya
Right?
vamos,
You,
ya
I don't
vamos.
respect. Your grandmother, I respect.
No, but
Mom,
here we
sorry.
are. I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Moyo, and for putting this together with CJ and CJ always for having a platform to talk.
He needs you needed it. The moment he said, he goes, "Man, I need somewhere I can talk."
No,
man,
we're gonna make a difference, and what we're gonna do tonight, I think, should be interesting. We're gonna talk about why we need immigration reform, why immigration's important, why it's not happening, and how can we fix it. It's a political process because it's great to register for people to vote, but if they're not going to vote the correct way, it's a waste of time. We're going to go over a few subjects, but also we have Clayman Kidd again back with us for the second time. Clayman, why don't you introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about you? I know you're graduated from law school. And,
All right.
He's our
Right, and
resident.
that's the main thing.
Yeah, the main thing. Okay.
My name's Clayman Kidd. I graduated from law school about a year ago from the University of Arkansas. I've been working with CJ for around a year, and excited to be here and talk about this immigration bill and some of the implications that it has.
Anything you want to say in specific of the last week or two that you've seen, or anything on the bill that you want to talk about, or what you've seen in the news, or are you just cool with the
Specifically,
comment?
yeah, what I've seen mostly is that the bill is doing what it was meant to do, which is scare immigrants and scare them out of the state, even. And it's destroying a lot of industries. And DeSantis knew that was going to happen, but didn't care because, like CJ said, he's trying to be the tougher immigration Republican than Trump. And he's trying to basically steal Trump's bid for presidency.
Now, we need immigration reform. We need immigrants. Let's start with that. We need immigrants. Canada is doing incredible at attracting good, qualified immigrants to come to the country to help. I mean, engineers, teach every kind of individual. Canada has a great immigration policy. What I can tell you is that all countries that stop immigration fail. This is a fact. We're a country made of immigrants, all of us. Even DeSantis, he's an Italian. You know,
yeah.
Trump makes a big thing about the matzo ball, the meatball joke. But you know what they called Italians? WAPs. If you heard this derogatory term, hey, you WAP. And what does WAP mean? Without papers.
¿A poco?
Yes. So
Yeah.
Italians, like his people, are
It's
we're
like,
without
it's like
papers.
saying mojado.
Yeah, mojado.
It's like saying mojado, yeah.
Yeah,
No, for real. So,
But-
I mean, immigration's always been that way. There's the history of otherism has always existed as it's a tale
Wow.
as old as time.
Now-
So it's always the other. You blame it on the other. And as it stands right now, over the last, 5-6 decades, los Latinos hemos sido the other. We've been the other, the ones we get blamed for all the shit that
I'm
happens.
bugged
I'd like
out.
to expand on that just a little bit on the concept of otherism. There was a study done recently asking what is the minimal requirement that it would take to turn two groups of people against each other. What's the minimal other thing? Is it like race? Is it a position on like a policy, like immigration? What's the minimal thing? And it's sheer randomness is enough. It could be a coin flip.
Really?
Is enough to turn two groups of people against each other, as long as one group is advocating they are different from us. That's all you need.
Difference.
Right. And so the United States, I mean, white people have done that to others for the entire history of this country.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's not just white people. If you're in Africa, there's a reason. One group of Africans, they don't look at, I'm black. They look at your cultural differences because they'll have different foods, different language. Everybody's black.
Even bloodline, right?
Yeah, they're black, but they're not brothers.
Happens in Latin America too.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. My dad's from Guatemala, my mom's from Mexico, and I don't know how that happened because
All the Mexicans know they're better than the Guatemalans. Ask them, you know what I
anybody
mean?
north of Guatemala, so all of Mexico, everybody thinks they're better. The Americans shit on the Mexicans shit on the Guatemalans, and you go down the
I was in
chain
the
of
Dominican
command.
Republic, and I said to some of my Dominican friends, who picks up the garbage here? Not us, the Haitians. Then you go to Puerto Rico, who picks up the garbages? Not us, the Dominicans. You go to New York, who picks up? Not us, the freaking Puerto Ricans. Everybody steps on somebody, and it's just that when whoever's in charge is the one that's doing the most of the hate in this country. It's a fact, woke or not, that it's been white people. Now, if it were reversed, I'm sure we'd have the same problems, except other people would be the ones doing it.
So turning to like immigration, when he says everybody steps on somebody, we see that a lot with people who come into the country legally, advocate
with
against
documents.
with documents, right? Advocate against people who came into the country without documents.
As we call them, people with blue eyes, Colombians with blue eyes, Mexican with blue
Ask the
eyes,
Cubans.
The Cubans with blue eyes. They got a lot of blue
Ask
eyes.
the Cubans.
Yeah, well, if
Yeah,
you
ask
ask
the
them, they'll
Cubans.
say, listen, I got a lot of Cuban. Where's your background? They don't even say they're Cuban. They say, I'm from Spain. My family, we lived in Cuba, but we're from Spain. I go,
Yeah.
dude, now you're trying to be white on me. I mean, come on. They do.
Yeah.
I kid you not. Every group, that's another problem with Latin culture. They try to whitenize themselves to the homeland of Spain. But we were talking about why immigration can cure two of the biggest problems. One of them, of the problems we have, is that employers are claiming huge shortages in labor in this country. They can't find employees. They can't find good workers. There's over, I think, 10 million available jobs that they cannot fill. when this law came up, and I was asked to speak at a construction company in Sarasota, they're just worried because their workers are going to go, and who's going to work on construction? Who's going to pick the tomatoes in the field and the agriculture? What is the deal with that, Cesar? Any idea on?
Florida is special when it comes to agriculture. 54% of tomatoes of the whole country are produced here in Florida. That's over half. Florida right now is 42% of all the orange sales in the country. 36% of the country's corn and watermelon produced here, Florida. And immigrants make up 86.4% of the overall agricultural labor force in Florida.
Yeah, imagine get rid of them and see what happens.
Well, let's really think about this, right? 86.4%. So you have 13.6%. What is that? That's management, owners, people working in the offices, payrolls, whatever. So who's actually doing the work? Of harvesting these crops.
Yeah.
It's a skilled labor. I talked to growers, and they said you can't just plug somebody in and expect them to go to work. It's a skilled work because they can't bruise the product. There's technique involved, and the speed they do it at without harming. It is a skilled job. And I always say that if you're worried about Mexicans or Latins coming in to take your job, man, you're not doing much of anything in your life, because these jobs are tough jobs. People that anybody that didn't have to do wouldn't do. The other thing that bringing immigrants would do is stop the higher inflation and the high interest rates. Because a lot of this, if you think about it, they can't get the workers. If you have to pay more for stuff, it's going to jack inflation. It's going to cause problems with the interest. It's going to help the economy if we open up. And then think about Social Security. Now, hey, my Republican friends, I'm anti-socialist. You're a freaking communist. I go, hold it. You're going to give up your Social Security? That's not Social Security. I go, dude, that's socialism, fool. Okay, if you give up your Social Security, how about people over 65, Medicare? Man, that's single parent. That is
socialism.
Socialism. Military health care. Socialism.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, no, I'm not giving that up. Then you support social programs. No, absolutely not. I go, shut up.
Only the ones that don't directly impact them.
Yeah,
that's it.
Exactly.
That's it. Well, I mean, when you're talking about the labor, we're only talking about agriculture. But if you really think about it, more than 1 in 5 Florida residents are immigrants.
Well, is it agriculture, tourism, and construction are 3 big?
Huge. So if you're just talking about the cost of going out to eat, right? A few weeks ago, we had a press conference here, and one of the things that I told one of the news network, I said, look, here's the problem. All right, people have been really bitchy since COVID. Everybody's impatient. We have a labor shortage. There was a huge segment of the population died off. People found comfortable ways to work from home. The younger generation isn't, back.
You are getting old, because that's what all the old people say.
But no, think about it. But a few years ago, McDonald's wasn't a full-time job. McDonald's was meant to, for a young high school 16, kid to go 18, and get a few extra bucks, go out on the weekends with their friends, watch a movie. Now it's like that's a full-time job, or 2 or 3 for people. That's job number 2 or number 3. So if you think about it, we're technology advancements, the COVID effect, which is a real thing, all of those things. Now you have a labor shortage, and now you're really just making it worse by what you're doing.
Well, I want to say that immigration reform is not opening the border to everybody. That people need to understand. I'm going through a process with my wife, the kids. We've been over a few years, and we're still not even done. It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm even registered as an immigration attorney in the courts. I'm an officer of the court in the federal government. I can do cases in federal court in the state of Florida and Minnesota. And I, worked with the president at one time. It doesn't matter. The thing is so backed up and broken. So when we say immigration reform, what we're trying to do is create new paths. We need labor. Allow the labor in and allow them to go home. So many people. I was in Mexico in the city. A guy was driving me around. He's been to the States. He worked construction. And he goes, if they would just let me come in, work 6 months and go home, I go home. They don't have the American dream like we. I mean, they can live like a king back home with the dollars. They just want to make the dollars.
Can I ask you something?
Sure.
So yesterday, a friend of mine has a construction company. And so he's like, Moyo, can you come and talk with them? Right. When Ananis, the attorney, came along with us.
Awesome.
They had no clue, and I'm pretty sure at your construction meeting, they thought their biggest problem was going to be the E-Verify.
Right.
And as soon as we started talking, they're like, "Oh no, this is bigger than that." They started talking, and this is the biggest home builder in the state. So at the end of it all, there comes this part where I'm mentioning driver's license. We're saying something along the lines of a driver's license,
Right.
and Anais gets on this because they want to put money behind something. They're talking about a legal fund for their employees
Right.
and things like this to help
Right.
them so that they don't feel like they have to leave.
Right.
So what would driver's license? Because this is what she said. She said, "Let's put something together."
Ain't gonna happen here.
What? But see now,
It could.
In my
We
head,
have all these states that
in my
have
head,
it.
it just tells me that it would just solve so many
Well,
things.
yeah, well, if you think about it, Mario, if you think about it, the federal government's about immigration. If I'm in charge, I'm the governor. I'm going to make sure, or a state legislature, I'm going to make sure that people are driving with a valid license. Why?
Yeah.
Because you're sort of like certified. You've been approved to drive. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, easier to get insurance and other
Yes.
things. So more likely you'll drive with proper insurance and you'll drive
A proper vehicle.
Right. You won't hit and runs. You'll have a lot. Okay. So the job of the state is not to do the federal job. If you're in Florida, you need a driver's license if you're going to drive. That's what the state should be. It's not your problem for immigration. All right? It's not. So if your job should make sure we have proper insurance on people, which we don't in the state of Florida because we're a Wild West state. No BI knew it's a crapshoot. It helps insurance companies. They charge a fortune for crap. You got to make sure people are properly insured, that they're properly licensed. But the state doesn't do that because you have governors who want to run for office. You have politicians that want to be governors, then who want to be president. They don't care. The system is broken. We're going to explain why in a couple minutes and how we can change this if we can at all. Because obviously, the point I was trying to make is that immigration reform is important.
Yeah.
But can we get it? Because, just another thing I wanted to touch before I tack to the problem with our system. It's not just registering people to vote, unfortunately. It's that, Title 42 just ended. The Biden administration, if you heard about this, and they're worried about all these immigrants coming across. Actually, it's decreased because Biden's made it tougher as much as he can because he's not the legislature to come in. But what he did also was to open up more avenues for people to do it the correct way. So, for example, if you're Colombian, for example, we were dealing with this the other day, and you are a resident of the United States, you can apply for your family now back home. You don't have to come to the border. If you have more pathways for coming here correctly,
then it changes
then you can be tougher at the border.
Yeah.
And then we need more judges. If you're coming here like they're doing correctly and go, political asylum, by the way, they're not undocumented at that point. They're coming to the border. Millions are coming. Political asylum, the Colombians, Venezuelans, all right? They're not undocumented in the sense they're not illegal because they're doing it correctly. Even DeSantis' bill says that you can arrest somebody who's transporting. They're here correctly, political asylum. What they should do within a short period of time, have a hearing or a trial about whether they qualify or not. And if they don't, deport them. But what they do is because they're overwhelmed. I know people have been here 7-8 years waiting for the hearing or trial on a political asylum case. Whenever they get to court, I promise you they will be deported. But they've had kids here. They have a life here. They're having this, that, and the other. And because they don't have enough people working, the system is broken, and we need immigration reform.
It's a bureaucratic problem. It's a political problem, and it's, I think, a humanitarian problem. And nobody wants to address those because it's not in their best interest to address it. People make buku money on the immigration issue.
Oh, thank you. Okay, that's a great point because just like why is weed illegal?
Yeah.
Think about it. This is stupid. Why?
I thought because they couldn't regulate it.
No. Because people are making money. One of the biggest industries in our country is the privatization of jails and prisons. Mm-hmm. What is one of the biggest drivers that pay off the political class to make sure nothing changes is the prison hotel businesses.
Really?
Absolutely. And what I mean by that if you think about it, if you detain somebody because they're not illegal, because they haven't committed a crime, because it's not a crime, but we can hold you, they got to put you somewhere. That's going to you're going to charge like a hotel,
You gotta feed
$200 a
them,
night.
you gotta
right?
hold them.
Yeah. So the company,
Give them
the
the haircut.
corporation is going to, yes. The money is billions.
Uncle Sam's making.
No, not Uncle Sam. Private industry is making it.
No, but Uncle Sam's cutting the checks
That's it is.
for
Yes.
for these private organizations to do this. It's
Go and see how much money they spend on the political class. In Arizona, when that 1070 was written 10 years
Sheriff
ago,
Joe or
that was
whatever.
done by the industry that houses people.
Wow.
And it's behind, that's one of the many things that's behind this. There's a lot of money being made sucking off the tit of the fucking
not even
federal
just
government.
the people, the privatization of prisons. There's also on the workforce side, the farmers, the people who own these farms making a lot of money because they're basically paying slave labor.
Well,
You
not
know,
just
I mean,
not just them, all industry across the board.
Anybody who hires undocumented immigrants take advantage of that to underpay,
Most, not all, but
overwork.
most.
It's a system where it's who really wants to pay. Okay, who really wants to pay a real living wage, right? If you are a greedy motherfucker who doesn't care about people, you are not that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you have an entire population you can just scare by saying I'll call ICE, who's going to benefit from that?
The thing with the money too, if you think about it, with the housing of people, locking them up when they legalize more and more weed, and you could, I don't know how in a good conscience. I don't know how you can be a moral person and incarcerate somebody for weed when if you in the state of Florida you have a card you don't.
Literally.
It's hypocritical.
Yeah.
It's you have no courage and you don't have the guts to do the right thing. But then I remember my parents saying, "Thank God my children aren't addicts. Honey, pass me another cocktail." They were alcoholics too, but that's okay because when they made their drug illegal, they had a revolution,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden the 13th Amendment, whatever
prohibition,
it was,
right?
prohibition. Now they make it all legal, but weed, oh God, that's the devil's thing.
Yeah.
Really? I think alcohol probably is more so. I've seen more violence and
Yeah.
more abuse of
Death.
people with alcohol than I have with somebody. Weed is like, oh, dude, I'm driving too slow. You don't see somebody like hauling ass on
Yeah.
weed. They got to have it mixed with something
Or
else.
beating their wife.
Oh,
or anything over-
yeah. It's like you get
I'm
beat
mellow.
by your wife. Yeah, I'm too mellow. Right?
I mean, historically, it plays into the otherism again. You had a lot of politicians who were claiming that weed was being used by Mexican immigrants.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
so they were saying that only bad people,
Narcotics business.
only
No.
Yeah. They used it.
right, and they would criminalize using it, and then only target Mexicans who were using it.
Yeah,
God
like-
forbid you could actually grow it for free in your backyard, and versus I have to buy the drink from whoever, But anyway, and here's the problem. So if we agree, or politically we want change, it's not going to happen. I champion and I applaud you for signing people up, but here's the problem. I really believe democracy hangs on a thread, and I'm going to explain this. It's our trust is fading, and democracy is losing its legitimacy. Okay, politicians aren't rewarded for doing the right thing, for solving problems. They're rewarded for making money and for staying in power, staying in office. So the problem is our political system is really broken. So what we have to do to fix the problem, because what we do is like, we'll get rid of Joe Smith, who's in there, and we'll put in, Clayman Kidd. Well, if Clayman Kidd wants to stay a representative or senator, he's got to play ball by the game that's
Play
broken.
the game.
So he's going to be the same as the guy you got rid of because the system doesn't reward problem solving. It rewards raising money and staying your ass in your position. If you think about it, I was with Andrew Yang of the Ford. He's creating the Ford Party. He was a former candidate for president in 2016. And he said Congress, I think it gets like a positive rating of like 16 to 20%. But 94% of incumbents are reelected. You imagine if you had a business where everybody hates you, would you stay in business? No, but Congress, it works. How does that happen?
How does
Special
that
interest.
Well,
You got super PACs. You got the fact that a business is considered an entity, so it's limitless money. There's a really good book, The Politics of Gun Control, how the NRA is actually very powerful in shaping a lot of what this is. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that there is prejudice out there, and so it's these.
I think there's more. I think there's more to it.
There's these really people who have been in power for a stupid amount of time, 30 years, 40 years, and they were around during segregation.
Well,
they try to prevent it from happening.
Here's the problem.
And they're still in power making decisions.
But here's the problem. Our system is broken the way we do elections. And what I mean by that, okay, now we have big time gerrymandering. Gerrymander was
when they changed the.
They do they had
lines.
a district that looked like a what do you call a lizard, a gerrymander, and that's where they came up with the term, because they take all these districts, and so at one time there were more Democrats in Florida, but the Republicans control everything because they draw the districts. Politics is numbers. In Manatee County, Jesus Christ is a Democrat can't win, even though all Republicans claim to be Christians. It ain't happening. So what happens is if you take Vern Buchanan here in Sarasota. He doesn't worry about the middle or the left. He worries a challenge from the extreme right. So he has to tack to the extreme right. In Tampa, our Congresswoman is a Democrat. She doesn't worry about the Republicans. She worries about a challenge from the extreme left if she were in outside of Florida.
From her own people.
Yes, you got to go more left. Or AOC wins in where she's on. She beat a 20-year Democrat that's a centrist, probably more like me, because she went way left. She beat she didn't beat a Republican. She beat another Democrat. And the same. So you create these districts that there's no incentive to work. So if you had 50-50 and you're a Republican, you'd worry about the Democrats and what they think, and vice versa. We have these gerrymandered districts that aren't competitive. Now there's some solutions to all this. I think we can establish ranked choice voting. And we'll talk about that. And open primaries is another thing.
In the state of Florida.
Yeah,
in the
I'm
state of
talking
Florida,
specific. Public campaign financing is another thing. So not only the wealthy can compete, but let's say you don't have a lot of money, you have great ideas, and you're not willing to sell yourself, you can get funding to run and get your message out.
I think that should be like the way it is. Because if not, you can't get a normal.
The Supreme Court. And now with the conservatives, money talks. Corporations are like people.
Citizens United, right?
Yeah, Citizens United.
So what happened? So like here locally, Manatee County.
Okay.
Manatee County is not a huge county. But to run for a county commission, which is one of the higher seats you can run for here that's local, you got to raise at least $500,000. Who the fuck has $500,000 lying around just to go and try to do the same thing? And what happens is the local special interest groups, because it all starts local, they get involved because they want everybody rubber stamping their developments or whatever it is that they want to happen. So they get a bunch of more. Today, Manatee County voted on allowing guns for public employees. So that's where we live here. The guy who's the supervisor of elections right now, Mike Bennett, who CJ ran against as a state senator, a few moons ago.
A few years ago.
He was the one who in the state of Florida, he introduced the bill similar to the one in Arizona. It was Mike Bennett.
Yeah.
We live in a very unique place where we've said this for years.
Well, I think the problem for me goes back. We have a lot of problems. But it's not going to change until we change how we do politics. And over 40% of Floridians are independent. So I'm going to ask you this: in the primary, Republican Democratic primary, can you vote as an independent?
You can't.
You cannot.
I remember.
You cannot.
Yeah.
So you have no word on the choice of people. Now, on top of that, Jeb Bush screwed us big time when he was governor. They changed how we vote, say, for governor. Say we'll use the DeSantis when he won the first time. You had, on the Democratic side, 6-7 candidates, where Andrew Gillum won, who was accused of doing all kinds of drugs. Good brother and friend of mine, I guess. Anyway, you had amazing candidates. And under the new system, you only have to get the majority of votes in the primary to move on as the standard bearer for your party. In the old system, you'd have to get 50 plus 1. So Andrew would win because he had the African-American vote by and large. And then the person who was number 2 in that election, I think, was Graham. She's a former congresswoman, and the daughter of Bob Graham, who was one of our greatest governors and senators, would have been an amazing governor. But she didn't get to face off against him. If she would have faced off against him and all these people were gone, she would have been
and that's how DeSantis won, because he beat Putnam,
right?
Who was Putnam was really a good candidate. I think that the pundits underestimated the right wing, even in the state of
Back
Florida.
then they did.
We really did. In 2016, everybody said, "Oh, Hillary's going to win," but then you look at the lines and the people out there voting, just like, no, that's not going to happen.
Some places there is ranked choice voting, and I don't know if you know what that is. So if you have 5 or 6, or let's say 3 candidates, hypothetically, or how many, and if you are one of the candidates and you get 50 plus 1, you're the winner. But if you don't get 50 plus 1, they eliminate the lowest vote total and spread their votes. You get first choice, second choice, third choice.
Oh.
So when you vote, you pick the one you want to win, and then you pick your second choice and so forth. And then that gives a word or say for everybody. So
Yeah.
you can actually have, even if your guy loses, you can have a say who's
fair
eventually
election.
going to win. Yes. So, I mean,
This is how I always thought it was.
no, never
And it's
been
never-
fair. Politics is never fair, never has been. So it's called ranked choice voting. Open primaries. Some states have this where you can vote. Let's say there's Republicans. I can vote in the Republican primary. Okay, anybody can. Any independent can. Imagine, how about we just change the system that if you're an independent, you can pick which primary to vote in,
Yeah.
Republican or Democrat. Wouldn't that be fair? Instead of the independents who have no voice,
Get shafted.
and then you get a choice between right wing and left wing. Okay? And you don't get the centrist. The centrist doesn't win anymore. So you got
Crazy.
DeSantis and whack job over here. You know, left.
Well, that's
yeah,
how you
right
get.
and
That's
left.
how you get
Right and left.
the rift, is when you only have those two choices. And what happens is the left's going to get further to the left, the right is going to get further to the right to create that rift, and then you lose that middle ground. So there's nobody with a little bit of common sense, because not everything on the left is good, not
Yeah.
everything on the right is good. There's a combination thereof. So it doesn't
our
work that way.
system is broken.
Okay, so what happens?
Because of poor design.
CJ, so then what about all our voters and the people that we register?
Okay, well, let's-
how is it that this
Now, I'm
can-
not saying it's a waste of time. I'm saying you're going to have a choice between two fools you may not like.
Yeah.
But you got to pick the best fool of the two.
Now we're talking also not only national, we're talking also
I'm
local.
talking across the board.
Yeah, because it happens
You
locally
still
as well,
got to
right?
participate. I mean, if we get enough people out to vote, then this what we're talking about doesn't rank votes. It doesn't matter. But people don't do that.
Yeah.
And for example, in Minnesota, you can say you're not registered to vote. Tomorrow's the election. I can go register to vote the day of the election. In Florida, you can't, because they don't want to get you voting. All these laws by the R's.
Yeah, they have a cutoff about a month before the election for you to be able
what
to
they want to
register.
do is, because more progressives, they're going to wait to the last second. Young people going to wait to the last second. Old people has dominated. They're like 10 years ahead. Like, got nothing to do but voting.
Yeah.
And back in the good old days, right? So that they create the system so that they can win. And it's just, and then they say they're a democracy, and they're not really, because 40% at least of the people in Florida don't have a voice in the primary.
I do want to say this though. A lot of what's happening right now, it's our own fucking fault. And I'll tell you why. Because we don't vote. Manatee County has 20% of the entire population of Manatee County is Latino. That's 1 in 5. In the city of Bradenton alone, we're about 33.5%. Most of the elections are within points of each other. But guess how much Latinos vote? In Manatee County, you're lucky to get 9.5%.
Of the
Nine
Lat-
of,
That sounds like a lot.
yes.
Of the Latinos.
Oh, of the 20?
Yes.
No, out of the 100%
out of
of
the
Latinos
100% of
who are
Latinos
registered to vote,
who
9%
are registered to vote, you're lucky to get 9.5%. Right?
Yeah,
So
that's a
with
lot.
That's
those,
why it's
with,
important.
with those, that's nothing. Are
Yeah.
you kidding? That means what? 1 out of every 10 is going to vote
Wow.
who are registered.
who are registered to vote,
Not
and
who-
that's not even
not-
including the
not
ones that
who-
can vote and don't bother to even register
Register,
anything.
no.
I mean, and then it's great. Everybody
Nothing's gonna change.
wakes up whenever shit hits the fan.
Nothing's going to change until
you use your power.
It was
That's
Mark. It was one of the great Malcolm X black leaders who had this progressive white chick say, "How can I help?" And he said, "You can't." And what he meant was,
Yeah.
Help
it's got to
yourself.
be black people who stand up for
Yeah.
black rights, not white people,
Yeah.
not the claiming kids of the world to stand up for Latinos. It's got to come from people like this guy right here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only blessed to be half Latino. Soy solamente mitad. Quiero ser full, como dicen los colombianos or los mexicanos, pero I'm not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wish I were. And if you are, it's your responsibility to get up and make the change.
But I also, para ser muy claro, in 2016, CJ was running for the Florida House. Estábamos en Ruskin, and because that was part of his district back then. Then they changed the district. Y le tocó una puerta a one of the voters. Estaba con una amiga de nosotros que estábamos ahí, and we were just knocking on all the fucking doors, and it was a young lady. She was like 19 years old. Y le dije, oye, hey, look, this guy's running for office. He's great, you need a vote. Y lo primero que me dice, no puedo. What do you mean? Your name's so-and-so? Yeah. You're registered? Yeah. It's like, what do you mean you can't? It's like, no puedo, porque si voto por la persona equivocada, van a llegar y van a deportar a mi mamá. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on. Who told you that? There is a culture of fear.
Of course, yeah.
And the problem is, it's not until I think what we really need is an educational campaign para educar a la gente on really what is what you really should be afraid of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Versus the boogeyman in the closet that doesn't exist.
Here's the problem too. If you go to Miami, and we just use Miami because that's where the primarily Cuban, the Republicans overall, and it's like the Colombians come over, and then they become Republican. I was trying to figure out why the hell are these people voting against their own interests? Why are Latinos stupid?
Yeah.
And I go, they're not, but here's where they come from. If you're in Brazil, if you're in Latin America, you have a choice between two groups, the right wing and the left wing. Okay, If you're Venezuelan, you have a choice between the right wing, where it's corrupt and not so good, and Chavez and Maduro, where destroying the country.
Yeah.
In Colombia, you have a choice between the right wing and Petro, who won, who's now destroying the country. They'll tell you the taxes have gone up, the this and that, the entitlement of people is going up, and they feel that the people that immigrate to the United States feel that the left is terrible. So they get to the United States from all over Latin America, Nicaragua, they had the Sandinistas, etc.
Yeah.
And they come here by Marmalade, those goddamn communists, right? And then they look at the United States system and they see Trump and the right wing, and they see the Democrats. And what do they say about Biden? Because I work with Biden, I know him. They go, he's left. I go, he's not left. He's center left, if anything. He's not leftist. Matter of fact, AOC don't like him too much because he's too centrist.
Yeah.
But all you have to do to a Latin is say, hey, I'm the right wing. They're the freaking communist. Boom, you get their vote. All right? So what we're missing here and in Latin America is a center party. They don't exist. This is why Latin America fails, and this is what scares me about the United States of America. We're moving to a system like Brazil. I have Lula on the left, Lula on the left, and Bolsonaro on the right. They're whack jobs, and there's nothing in the middle. Brazil loses. Same thing in Colombia, same thing in up and down Latin America, Mexico, everything. So what we need to do, and we need in this country, is a party or a group to represent that middle that's disenfranchised. If we have 40-some% of Floridians who are independents, that's a new party, brother. Because I'm a centrist. I'm not right-wing.
I'm sorry, say
we need a new party, and it's coming. Andrew Yang, who ran for president, is a Democrat, who has started a new party, and it's an official party in Florida as well. It's called the Forward Party, Palante.
I love it.
Like my song. It sounds crazy. I wrote that song before the party even existed, but it makes sense. I went to a meeting with Yang and former Representative Jolly, who was a Republican, now an independent. You don't need to take over. You just need 3%. We have the first mayors who have become Forward Party members. Here's my thought. I'm thinking about the Hispanic side. If all you have to do to a Latino say, they're left, you're not going to get their vote. It don't matter. They're not going to vote for you. It don't matter. You're a communist, even though you're not. You know how many times I've been called a communist? Kiss my ass. I am the most anti-communist guy there is in the world.
Devil's advocate to the older generation of Latinos.
Well, you would think so, but overall still, because the newer people coming over still have in Colombia, for example, Petro. In Brazil, you have, Lula. You have the left. And they know there's corruption on the right, but they at least had in their minds more freedom. And so they're not looking at Trump and going, oh, yeah, he's a corrupt fuck, but we don't care because I'm going to have a better life with him. And that is the problem. Now, what I can tell you, there's good stuff on the left, like Social Security, like Medicare, which is leftist, and social program. I used to tell you Republicans. And on the right, having business. You're a businessman.
Yeah.
I want to make my money. I want to drive my Mercedes. I want to make my cash. I don't want to pay taxes if I don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? But it's also okay to have social programs to help people.
Yes.
Why do we have to be one extreme or the other? Because if you're in any extreme, you fail.
So this Forward Party is a thing.
Yes, we talk about it in the future
Are
because
they going to be official for the?
They're already
2026?
official.
So 2024.
Yeah, but and remember this, it starts from the bottom up. So what I mean by that is we need candidates in the forward party that is going to be local, that
Yeah.
can
You're
attract that
talking city
independent vote.
council.
Yeah,
you're
and,
talking
so-
school board,
so-
county commission, stuff like that.
We were in a meeting beginning of the week, I believe it was. No, sorry, last Friday, and that's the first thing that came up. It's like, man, we can register all these people and kind of get a.
Yeah,
if you
okay,
don't
now
have, if you don't
registering
have-
for what?
for vote, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
but for what party?
well, that's the
For,
thing.
to do what?
Exactly. So that's
Okay,
what I'm
now
saying. So
great.
it's like
You registered everybody
now
for
you
what? To
need-
vote against the side that helps them?
Yeah.
You got to teach people to think and then understand what they're voting for.
what does that look like?
What do you mean?
Teaching them at the same time, because I'm thinking right now you got an election coming in next year.
Here's my thing. If you vote a Republican, you've wasted, and you want immigration reform, you're a fool.
Yeah.
Just get the hell out of my way.
I got it.
You're a freaking devil. You're the You're a fascist fool. You're ignorant.
You'll never see
You're
it.
Whatever. You don't know what you're doing. So if you're Latino, you don't have blue eyes, baby. You think you're white? Look in the goddamn mirror. You're not. And they ain't gonna accept you.
I don't know.
But-
Although I have some days that
No,
I'm just a
no,
little
no, no,
lighter.
dude.
It's
You
just-
don't. I know you.
I mean, Clayman?
No, Clayman. He thinks he's white.
Look at this
him.
Look at this side of my hand.
Now, what do you think of all this, Clayman? You've been very quiet. You got look. Caesar talks more than me, so you've got to butt in there. What do you want to say about all this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton of comments as far as immigrants from specific countries coming over, so I don't have like a lot to say on Colombians specifically. That being said, I do think that if you're voting Republican in Florida, you're doing something wrong.
For why? I mean, don't
For,
just say
for
that,
several
but-
reasons. For,
Okay,
for
well,
immigration,
what's your opinion?
for
What's your reason? It
Right,
doesn't just mean
mostly-
immigration. Anything. Let it out.
okay. I mean, immigration, education.
What do you mean? Specific.
So Ron DeSantis right now has passed a bill redefining how the Florida schools are to run. Basically, just a new education bill. And I've seen videos of, I'm talking 10 giant bins full of books that schools have
To get rid of?
to get rid of. Right.
Oh, no.
The woke agenda or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Anything about the truth. You know what woke means anyway? It's about people who woken up to the fact of racism. That's it.
They've made it illegal to allege that someone is a racist. They've made that
You could
slander
be charged
per se.
with the crime.
Right.
If you call someone a racist, you can be charged with the crime.
They're racists.
That's Florida.
Hey, Ron DeSantis
Don't
is a
tell me
racist.
what I am.
Yeah, he's a
He's a racist.
racist.
That's
He's
what
a
you're
bad
me,
Don't
baby.
person.
tell me what I am. And if you say it to me, I'll lock you up.
Ron DeSantis graduated law school from, what was it, Harvard?
Yale.
Yale Law.
Yeah.
Graduated from Yale Law and immediately volunteered to be stationed at Guantanamo Bay to be the legal advisor to the task force that was torturing
Yes.
what they called enemy combatants.
Correct.
In an interview in 2018, he said everything they've done was legal in nature, one way or another, is what he said.
Oy.
He is a bad person. He doesn't care about people's rights. He saw people being tortured and said, "A-okay with me." And then he went to, I want to say it was either Iraq or Afghanistan, with SEAL Team 1, doing essentially the same thing, advising them as to their rights, encountering enemies, and detaining enemies and getting information from them.
Torture.
So torture.
Oh my God.
Then he joins Congress, and when a ex-military member joins Congress, they're kind of initiated into. They're sent letters. Right, there's a group of high generals that say, "Hey, you're in Congress now. Here's what we want from you." And so Ron DeSantis is just kind of in my opinion, like a racist, fascist warmonger.
Well, the difference, what's scary about Ron DeSantis, he is smart, unlike Trump. He's way smarter.
I think he's smarter than Trump, but I wouldn't say that he's particularly smart.
See, in politics before, you could say all these things, but when you won, you tack to the middle, and you remember that you don't represent the right wing. You represent everybody.
You're supposed to.
right?
Yeah.
But that's not what's happening today. We need to change the way we elect our officials. We need to change the fundamental way of our country does the election process, or we will lose our democracy.
So I'm on the outside looking in. Is it changing with this forward thing? Is this something that we can look at?
I've been studying this, and I believe so, because I feel, look, even Yang talked about, called out my name at the event because I had a conversation with him, and I said, I was a Republican. I actually ran for office as a Republican back in the day, and then I saw the racism and where it was going, and I changed the Democratic Party. Then I was chairman of the Democratic Party here, and I'm not happy. This organization, I went to Minnesota. I said, "Oh, they're Democrats. I'll fit in." And they think, "Look, here to the I'm a communist. I go to Minnesota. I'm a Republican. I'm a right wing because I don't fit in with either side. I really don't. I struggle. Biden is a centrist. He's not leftist, but they call him a communist. I go, you don't even. I know the guy. I know what he is. He's liberal socially." And he's more conservative physically than you would think. If he's going to be left, he's going to be center-left a little bit. But he's not a leftist. But they like to pigeonhole you into certain things. Yeah. So what happened? When I came to Sarasota when I was in high school last year, you had to be a Democrat to hold position. Then what happened was, it's called a Southern strategy. The Republicans wanted to gain more power, so what they did was to appeal to the Southern Democrat conservative voter. Right now in Arcadia, most of the white people are still Democrats, but they're more right-wing than Republicans. So over the years, the right-wing Democrats, remember, who was the party of the Republicans, the party of Lincoln, because they emancipated the slaves.
Yeah.
The Republicans were the left, if you will, the progressives. And the right-wing Democrats have become Republicans, and Republicans like me have become Democrats. And you saw Charlie Crist, he was governor when he was a Republican. You saw Representative Jolly, he's no longer a Republican. He was a Republican representative from Pinellas County. Now he's an independent because what's happening, he doesn't fit into the Democratic Party either. So it's a revolution happening before you of changing politics of conservative Democrat, Southern Democrats who have now taken over the Republican Party. That's the evangelical right-wing freaks that claim to be of God, but they're not. They're with the devil. And then the business-minded Republicans, like myself, have become Democrats. And the reality is we don't fit anywhere. That's the truth.
Wow.
You don't fit anywhere. So I'm thinking, and this is for the next program, it is really about a third party. And you don't have to have, look, the people say, what's the biggest thing against the third party? Oh, you'll take votes away from somebody. Like, if you remember back in the day, what was it, when Clinton was running? It was
Sanders.
Perot.
Oh, yeah.
Ross Perot.
Ross Perot.
Right. He's taking votes away from the Bush.
You're talking about Bill.
Well, Bill Clinton. I'm going way back.
Yeah, you're going back. I'm thinking Clinton. That was
it's like
Bernie
last
Sanders.
week, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my God. So third party, they always say third party is going to take away. So if you get a progressive leftist, he's going to take votes away.
But it doesn't
The Green
happen.
Party is going to take away from the Democratic Party a vote. If you get a right-wing guy, he's going to take votes away from the Republican president. But what you do on the forward party is that you start from the ground up, get mayors elected, get representatives, get senators elected. When it comes to the presidency, you're going to still vote for the Democrat or the Republican. In this case, if you're listening to me, you're going to be voting for the Democrat. You can be a forward party member and vote for the Democrat. So when it comes to voting, unless there's a forward candidate, which there aren't, you're going to vote Democrat. So all these brothers and sisters are registered. You can either register, you're going to vote Democrat unless there's another third choice that makes sense. Right now, the only third party, and it is a party in Florida, is the Forward Party. So there's a book here. Andrew Yang has his book, and it's really fascinating. I'm in the middle of the read. A lot of the stuff I'm talking about comes from that meeting Andrew Yang and Jolly and hearing them speak about how do we change the politics in the United States? Because really, it's broken. Yeah. And until we change what we do, and so even if we don't have enough, we don't need to have, all you need is 3% of the people of Florida to vote forward to have a change in that. If you get 1 or 2 United States senators who are forward party members, it changes everything. It's not that many that you need because then they'll have to work together if they want your vote. Yeah. All right? Let me tell you, we're going to dive into it in programs to come, but I really believe that we have to change the base. Cesar, myself, others have worked for years to get people to vote. You were mentioning this. We were talking about this 20 years ago, weren't we?
Look, yesterday we were on the phone, or this morning, whenever it was, and I said, dude, I was telling Nancy, this is the same exact conversation
still.
that we've been having for decades, longer than I've been alive. But then, as long as I can remember, have been involved politically in some way, shape, or form, the same exact conversation. And one of the problems, again, it goes back to, is it really a problem that the politicians or the politics of today or of the past really want solved? You know what I mean? It's kind of like the abortion problem or other things.
No, they don't. Okay.
That's the truth.
If they sat down and we got a great immigration reform bill by both sides, what would the Republicans have to bitch about?
Yeah, what are they going to yell at you about now?
What are they going? How are they going to raise money because those brown people crossing the borders and they're coming to take over?
Yeah.
How are they going to if they were like abortion? Now that it's starting to go, if they make abortion legal, what are they going to complain about now?
Exactly.
Their job is Marco Rubio. When he first got elected, came out. We're going to do immigration reform. Remember that? They pulled him aside and said, "Marco, back down right now because we're going to lose our way. We're going to make our money, and you're going to lose a way for us to get removed." He backed down, and since he's been our U.S. senator, not one immigration bill. Not he's even tried. Why? Because now you have DeSantis screaming about the illegal immigrants, illegal this, illegal that, even though they're not illegal.
And he nice and quiet.
There is a reason why politics is broken and ain't going to change.
I think it's graduating with time because it's inevitable. The United States is turning brown.
Oh,
period.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care who says what.
They're holding it as long as they can.
It's like we're on the precipice. We're on the cusp of the generational change that's to come. But what's happening now, and Clayman alluded to it a little bit, what I see the future target's going to be is this woke shit. That's what it is. So now they're changing because they're running out of things to talk about. So now they're bringing out not just the racism but the homophobia.
There's corruption too. Last couple things, and we got to wrap up in a second. They're destroying public education so they can take public money. The Republicans control the state. And go into these charter schools that are private schools, so now they can write checks back to the political class.
Yeah, they get kickbacks. Running management companies and charter schools
and the corruption
like
that's happening.
It's all about the money, keeping it going round and round and round.
You've been listening to Café con CJ, Sin Pelos. Esta vez casi nadie quería hablar español. We're gonna have to change. Cesar was supposed to try to break it out, and he's just left me down.
At the end of the day. Yeah, at the end of the day, we're going to get to the right people in the right ears. I love what you're doing.
I hope you're right.
I love what you're doing, yes.
Yeah, so listen, I need people to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Share it.
We need you to share it and get out there. We're going to start pimping it out. We're just getting it going.
Yeah,
and give us comments and help and feedback.
For many times I had not asked people to share, but when it's such important stuff, I ask them to share 10 times. Share 10 times. Just
well, if they have ideas for guests to come on too and talk with us, I'd be I'd pontificate a lot, but this is based on a lot of years of working in the political systems. I've been blessed to have worked with Biden in his political campaign in 07, 08. I knew very close his campaign manager, worked with people in the Obama administration, worked locally in politics, been a chair of a Democratic Party, ran as a Republican candidate back in the day. Listen, but I always know if I have a chance of winning or not. I'm an attorney. We do personal injury law. We do, criminal law, one murder trials. But what I can tell you in a case, before you go to trial, you know what your chances of winning or not.
Yeah.
And the same thing in politics. Luis Navarro once told me, he said, it's about the numbers. It's just that simple. So you want to run more, you'd be a great candidate. You want to run, and you're running in a Republican district, and you're running as a Democrat, it don't matter. You're going to have
pick the right seat.
Exactly. Just like if a forward party member, in my opinion, is going to run, if you're going to be forward, you got to look where there's a lot of independents, let's say, non-party, and where maybe a Democrat's not running. And then now you can get some of the Republicans, you get the non-party and get the Democrats. It's just numbers.
Wow.
You have to pick numbers. It's not even so much what you believe in, unless, and what I love to do is create a speaking series where we go around the state, each person with different topics and delivering amazing speeches. And maybe to the Latino populations to start, maybe beyond that. But I would like this to be a beginning of finding people who are willing to speak and stand up and be truth about it, truth to power. Talk about what needs to be talked about.
I love it.
Thanks for tuning in. And look, please tell the people about this. Help us make it better.
Yes.
And Moyo,
yes.
man, I'm super proud of you. I want to leave with that. I mean, I know, we know how hard it is to run for office, to run these campaigns, to be out in the evening doing these shows, and everybody. I mean, it takes a lot, and you're going to feel that you're by yourself, and you know you're going to feel that it's not working, and you're going to. But you know what? You're touching people, even if it's one person out of that 1,000.
That's
You're
what we
going to
hope
make
for.
a difference, and hopefully one of them ends up being somebody special that changes the world.
Yes. Thank you, CJ,
You got it, brother.
and thank you for the cafe.
Thank you.
right,
Clayman,
sir.
anything else, or anything before? We've been dominating the conversation.
Maybe just one thing. I know you talked a lot about the Forward Party. I just want to reiterate it's important to go out and vote. Even despite this immigration bill, Cesar got me thinking that one potential effect of the bill is it's going to scare a lot of people into not voting. So please do vote if you're able to.
Absolutely, and vote with some kind of intelligence. Understand
Yes.
what
Right.
you're voting for.
Well,
and who.
yeah, I look at it like that. We're gonna have this part of like prepping people, but then
Absolutely.
but once you get close, you really got to start talking.
Who
it
is
up.
who, and what are
Who
they
is who.
doing, and who are you going to pick?
Yeah.
And that's from low all the way to top. From
There's
judges
a lot of
all the
great
way up.
organizations all over the state that they do what it's called slate cards, and then there's some that are just trustworthy. You know who you're voting for. You know, and one thing that we've learned with CJ over the years, you got to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they just need a little bit of help. They need a little bit of guidance. And when
kick
you
in
get
the ass guidance.
That's what we're here
no,
for.
it's true.
Yeah.
You literally sometimes have to drag them to there and get them to do it. But every vote counts. It
And,
really
and
does.
we need the Latino leaders. You don't have to lead the whole country. You just got to lead your group. That's it. We need to find young people. If you're watching, you're involved in this, you're listening. One of you guys in your community, you got to stand up and lead, and we'll help you lead.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
you'll be the next congressman, maybe next senator or next president. Let's change the world.
Yes.
Ciao.